I still remember the moment she walked into the cafe, like someone had quietly opened a window in a room I didn't realize had gone stale. It wasn't just her smile, though it was soft and disarming. It was the way she looked around as if the world still surprised her. That alone made me nervous. I had been on enough hollow first dates to expect awkward pauses, polite lies, and the typical exchange of favorite movies that never really mattered. But with her, Isla, something in the air shifted. We sat down, exchanged shy glances, and without meaning to impress each other, we talked like we had known one another long before this moment. I cracked jokes, terrible ones, and to my shock, she laughed with genuine amusement, not courtesy. And somewhere between my confession that I burned toast on purpose because I liked the smell and her revelation that she collected rain sounds from every city she visited, I felt something tug inside my chest, something foolish, reckless, and real. So when the waiter came to refill our cups and teased us about new lovers on a first date, I smiled at her and joked, "Well, I mean, will you marry me on our first date?" I meant it in humor, just a playful attempt to keep her laughing. But she paused, her smile slowly fading into something deeper, something steady. She looked directly into my eyes and said, "I hope you keep that promise." Suddenly the joke wasn't a joke anymore. I froze. My heart tripped over itself. It was the kind of moment where the world narrows down to one person, one breath, one sentence that rewrites everything. She didn't say it like a desperate plea. She said it with an unexplainable certainty, as if she recognized something in me, something she had waited for. The rest of the date shifted into a strange, beautiful space, not lighthearted flirting, but something frighteningly close to soul-level vulnerability. She told me things she usually hid. Her fear of being abandoned, how people often walked away once they saw her flaws, how she hated sleeping with the lights off because silence reminded her of childhood loneliness. And I told her about my failures, the dreams I had shelved, the heartbreaks that left me guarding my chest like a fortress. It was raw, honest, too honest for a first date. Yet it felt right, like peeling away layers without fear. As the night deepened and the world outside dimmed, I found myself memorizing her expressions, her voice, the hopeful ache behind her words. I didn't want the date to end. Neither did she. We walked outside, cold wind brushing against us, and she held her coat tightly around her as she looked up at the night sky. "Do you say that joke to every girl?" she asked. I shook my head. "No, only to the one who actually made me consider it." She laughed quietly, brushing hair from her face. "Good. Keep that promise then." And just like that, my heart knew I was already in trouble. But we both carried shadows, and shadows are patient things. The next few days were blissful. Long calls, spontaneous voice notes, accidental midnight confessions. But then the universe, as always, tested what it gives. Her mother fell seriously ill. She had to leave town suddenly. Her messages slowed. My insecurities rose. Silence grew between us, not by choice but by circumstance. And just when I began to wonder if that magical first date had been nothing more than a beautiful illusion, she texted, "I'm scared. Don't leave." And I replied without hesitation, "I made a promise. I'm not going anywhere." But promises are easy in words. Life tests them in storms. And our storm was just beginning. When a promise is tested by reality, weeks passed. Her mother's health worsened. Stress carved itself into her voice, turning her laughter into echoes of what it used to be. I tried to be there, to listen, to comfort, but the weight she carried was heavier than anything I knew how to lift. Sometimes she would answer my calls. Sometimes she wouldn't. Sometimes she'd cry at 2 in the morning, apologizing for breaking the mood or being too much. Every time I reassured her. Every time I reminded her I wasn't going anywhere. But even the strongest hearts crack. One night she said the words I feared, "Maybe you should move on. I'm too broken for this. For you." Hearing that felt like losing the ground beneath me. I wanted to shout, to tell her she was wrong, that she mattered too much, but instead I simply said, "I didn't joke about the promise. Not then. Not now." She cried hard. And I realized she wasn't pushing me away because she didn't want me. She was pushing me away because she believed she didn't deserve to be loved during her storm. But love doesn't wait for sunny weather. 1 month later, her mother passed away. She didn't tell me at first. She disappeared. No calls, no texts, nothing. I messaged her every day anyway. Not demands, not complaints, just little reminders. I'm still here. You're not alone. Take your time. After nearly 3 agonizing weeks, she finally replied with a single message. Can you come? I drove hours without thinking. She opened the door slowly, her eyes swollen, her spirit dimmed. She didn't speak. She simply stepped forward and collapsed into my arms like someone falling into the last safe place left on earth. For a long time, neither of us said a word. Her grief was a storm, and all I could do was hold her through it. We sat on the floor together. She finally whispered, "Why didn't you leave?" I answered quietly, "Because you asked me to keep the promise." She looked at me with a mix of disbelief and hope, like she was seeing light for the first time after drowning in darkness. "You still want to marry me? After all this?" I cupped her face gently. "Isla, I didn't fall in love with the easy parts of you. I fell in love with everything." She cried again, this time not from pain, but from the fragile relief of being seen. Months passed. Slowly, she healed. Slowly, her laughter returned. Slowly, life rebuilt itself. And one evening, on the anniversary of our first date, I took her back to the same cafe. The same table. The same seat. My hands trembled, not out of fear, but because I knew what I was about to change forever. She raised an eyebrow and smiled knowingly. "You're recreating our first date?" "Not exactly," I said. Then I knelt down beside her, ignoring the shocked gasps from the other customers. "Isla," I whispered, "the first time I asked you this, it was a joke. The second time, it was a promise. And now, it's the rest of my life." Her hands flew to her mouth as I said the words that had waited in my heart since the day I met her. "Will you marry me?" She didn't speak immediately. She just stood, pulled me into her arms, and whispered into my ear, trembling with emotion, "Thank you for keeping the promise." The cafe erupted in applause, but in that moment, I only heard her heartbeat. 2 broken souls who met on a random evening, held together by a joke that wasn't a joke after all. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as humor, shaped by pain, strengthened by storms, yet survives because someone decides, "I'm not leaving." If you love this emotional story and want more heart-touching tales like this, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another powerful story. Your support helps us bring more beautiful stories to life. Red Heart.